the nitty-gritty. Conversations get real live, it's time for the nitty-gritty. The revolution's not televised, it's time for the nitty-gritty. Reaching out to your conscious mind, it's time for the nitty-gritty. More than talking, we taking action, it's time for the nitty-gritty.
We up. IG, we up. YouTube, we up.
I stencil your
Sing, man, sing.
cherry
I don't know who this cat is yet. Officially.
onto my
If y'all wonder who we're listening to, this is him. So around the same time Her came out, there was a guy, him. Cat seemed kind of disturbed by the idea that somebody would do him. But he's don't listen to this cat.
He has nice
You're
sweat.
under my vanity.
This whole
Reflect
has
that
been done in the industry.
Exposed.
I mean, I did.
It's like all of them sound services.
But look, if y'all haven't,
Kevin Ross, Eric Bellinger,
there's some slight
the
variance.
guy from Blackish, they all sound fantastic.
Look, if y'all want to check him out, he's on Apple, iTunes. It's him.I.M. This is off his Him Volume 2 album, and the song is Only Way. Dope. I like him. I'm feeling him. Yeah. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Dope. Check that out. If y'all, him. Check out him. A little like a counterpart to Her, and actually him stands for Her in Mind. Just saying.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's dope though. It's for a real dope project.
Very
Yeah, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. I've been banging that for a minute. It's your boy Jamie Costa,
And it is your girl, Catman.
and together we are the Nitty Gritty. Got an important show today. Of course, you guys have been seeing this conversation on social media all week. We're going to be discussing the Amber Guyger case.
Yep.
We're going to be talking about obviously RIP to Joshua Brown. He was one of the witnesses that was found shot dead in his apartment in Dallas. We'll talk about the judge. We'll talk about the bailiff. We'll talk about
Forgiveness.
basically this conversation of white sympathy, right? And I know a lot of people are like, oh, that sounds offensive. What do you have against white people? We have nothing against white people. But you have to have difficult conversations if you're going to move forward as a society. And the problem in America is nobody ever wants to address the elephant in the room. So that's what we do. That's why on the Nitty Gritty we get down to it. Also, we're going to talk about forgiveness. There's been a lot of conversation about forgiveness. A lot of it is because of the case.
And even about Christianity, too.
Yeah. Because Brant Jean, the brother of Botham Jean, who passed away, obviously he forgave Amber Guyger, even gave her a hug.
Right.
So there's been a lot of people upset. And I've seen a lot of people feel one way about the argument in all stances. It's like, the sympathy towards Amber Guyger, the forgiveness. There's a lot of different pieces there. I think you can have mixed feelings about various aspects. I don't think it has to be all uniform or across the board. We'll get down to what that means. And then, of course, we'll just talk about forgiveness in general and Christianity, because it's been, there's this idea of forgiving. What does forgiveness mean? What does that look like? Are you truly forgiving if you don't do X, Y, Z accompanied by it? So let's talk about that. And if we got time, we'll try to make fun of it or make light. And we'll talk about some more cuffing season stuff or something like that, relationships, whatever.
Okay.
All right. So let's kick it off. Let's get to the skinny of it. Let's talk about the case.
Okay.
All right. So Amber Guyger, remember last year, her story, and I think the story that she maintained, even though she took ownership for what she did wrong, she never truly took ownership. I never really believed her. I felt like it was more or less she's caught. She's about to get in trouble, so now she tried to take on this thing of this retribution and forgive me, I did some wrong. But basically, to catch you guys up, if you're not understanding what happened, Amber Guyger got off late from work.
Yep.
She goes home.
Yep.
Not to her own home. Somehow she goes into the apartment. She gets off on the wrong floor, and she goes to Botham Jean's apartment. I guess his door is unlocked.
She sees him eating ice cream.
Sees him eating ice cream.
On the couch.
On the couch. No gun. No nothing. No advance towards her. Just a black guy eating ice cream on the couch. I seriously doubt they had the same couch. I seriously doubt the house was decorated the same.
Or even smelled the same.
But anyway, she goes into this person's house. She sees him on the couch eating ice cream. Shoots him dead.
Yep.
All right. So let's unpack this, right? Just to start here, before we even get into the nuances of the case.
All intellectuals nowadays say
Unpack, right? I'm trying to be intellectual, y'all. Even if y'all don't fully accept me, let's just pretend I'm smart. So, imagine if you're a police officer. Typically, now any police officers watching this, correct me if I'm wrong. But since I had, worked in that field at one point, I feel like I got a little just to say. For her to shoot him dead automatically, that means she reaches for a gun and kills him. The thing is, though, as a police officer, even though you carry your weapon home, typically, it may be on you, it should be in the bag, but the fact that she had time to go in the bag before she even realized what was going on, there was enough time there to realize, oh, this is my neighbor, because the proof is we've seen the pictures that they had some kind of contact together before this went down. Now, there was all kind of rumors and hearsay about the extent of the relationship between the two. But what we do know is she knew who this guy, she had seen this guy at least before.
But,
all right?
But not only that, it's like, even if, let's say for instance, there was an intruder in your house, I would never think as a police officer your first thought would be, let me shoot. I thought maybe an officer would have said like, sir, maybe point the gun, sir, get out of my house before you get shot, or sir, what's up? You know what I'm saying? Some kind of, I don't even know, like conversation perhaps, maybe?
Yeah, the thing
to
is,
ask them to leave.
The thing is to reach, the first thing to do is reach into your bag, because chances are you don't have your gun strapped to your waist anymore. You probably even took that off if you're on your way home. And even if you do, the fact that you walk in and the first thing you do is pull out and shoot, that is, and I say this all the time, and I know I sound like a broken record and I don't care, that is not following the 7 levels of force, all right? Or just levels of force, period. Maybe they don't have 7 in some jurisdictions, but the first thing you're going to do is assess, is the person a threat? Like before, I don't know if they go to their mace first or if they go to their stun gun first, whatever the case, but if you're going to use lethal force, and that's where we're at, as she pulled out a gun, there's 2 things that have to be present for you to justify pulling your weapon. One, does the person have the means to do you harm? If my hands are here, maybe a spoon here and another one here because I'm chilling on the couch watching whatever on television and I'm eating ice cream, I don't have the means. A spoon and a bowl are not lethal weapons. So, okay, you already canceled the fact that the means wasn't there. And keep in mind, you have to have both in order to utilize lethal force. So, he didn't have the means. He's in a sitting position. Worst case scenario, if you were afraid, you could shut the door and run. Ain't no need to like stand there and shoot the guy. Doesn't have the means. Second, was the intention to do harm there? Hard to imagine the intention to do harm is there, because once again, the guy is on the couch sitting and eating ice cream, right? So, does common sense tell you there's no means and there's no intention? Even this from a startle standpoint on his part. If he said, hey, get the F out of my house. If he yelled, whatever. Once again, you're intruding on his house. A little situational awareness, which one should have if you're going to be if you're going to be a police officer, you should have a little situational awareness
about details and such.
And the problem with a lot of these situations where we see innocent black men, or if you see any innocent person killed, especially by police, the thing that bothers me the most is the police officer is the trained individual in all of these cases. Or allegedly trained. But they should be trained. Why is it that they, in every situation, we're victim blaming as if the victim should have more resilience or have more calm or have more foresight or some kind of like police officer awareness acumen in the situation? That individual, whether it's Philando Castile, Sandra Bland, Eric Gardner, and all the countless others that have died due to police violence, and now once again we have Botham Jean, they're not trained to respond to the situation correctly anyways. The officer is. Why didn't she look around and say, you know what, I'm in the wrong apartment? And why, and then once again, because regular citizens get DUIs all the time, you don't have to be under the influence. You could be tired and still get a DUI. A lot of people don't know that. So obviously she was so wore out that she got off at the wrong floor, went into the wrong apartment, never had any kind of situational awareness to look around and see, you know what, I'm in the wrong place.
It's just strange.
It seemed like she did it on purpose.
Because I live in an apartment complex, and let's say, for instance, even in the same position, I were to go downstairs or upstairs, the floors just look different. They're similar, but they still look so different that I would know, like, okay, this is not right.
And once again,
something would have been off to me.
The likelihood that their house is decorated exactly the same, where you would look in,
should have told her everything.
Where you would look in and see, oh man, like, you know what, this ain't my place. I messed up.
Well, moving along. So I think that now, which brings us to the case, the reason why there's been this overwhelming outcry on social media about like this whole forgiving thing, Botham Jean's brother asking to give the I guess she is the I don't want to call her no victim because she ain't no victim, but I guess
I don't want to go into forgiveness yet. Let's stick with the case.
Right. Well, I'm talking about the case. I'm just saying there was. So let's just give you some of the details. There was a black judge. They had I guess a mixed jury, correct?
Mixed jury.
Mixed jury.
Mm-hmm.
Botham Jean's family is Christian. And,
yep.
And father is a minister, I believe.
Yep.
So that's a pertinent detail to know.
Yep.
So I guess as the jurors were deliberating, I guess, against one another, one of the things that they said in the interview was that they felt that she looked very remorseful, that they felt it truly was a mistake, and so they had the opportunity to charge her with life to prison. They could have given her 99 years. But decided not to, and one of the reasons why is in addition to her looking remorseful, they thought they used Botham Jean's brother asking to give her a hug as a sign to say in which, well, it looks like he forgave her, she's sorry, so at this point she doesn't really deserve 25 years, let's just give her 10 years. And we know with good behavior, her being a white woman and her also being a ex-police officer, she's not going to serve 10 years. And the reason why it is an outcry in the black community is because people have been charged for far worse. I mean, let's take Corey Wise, Central Park 5.
Falsely accused, ends up serving 13 or 16 years. I think it was 13.
Either way.
Like 13 years.
One even on the list, this man went to Rutgers Island and served time. Let's take men who are caught with weed. They get 20.
Not even like, and I'm talking about like grams. Like everybody, like, you know what I'm saying. And these guys get life. We've during the crack era, whenever. And then here's and for anybody who's white is watching this, this is not once again. Oh, look at the black people. They're being sensitive. You know, they're always upset about something. No, but for you guys not to recognize what's going on in society, you're not making society better. And what I mean by that, that's not calling you necessarily racist. I know y'all always get up in arms. I'm not racist. But you're not a good citizen either, okay? Because when you don't see that someone is being marginalized or oppressed, or that the law is not fair, you as a citizen should want to make that right. Because it's only a matter of time before it'll be you too, because maybe you don't have enough money, or because you're middle class or you're lower class, and you'll get the same treatment as black people, or maybe Hispanic people, or any other minority in America. So you should care because you're Americans and we're Americans as well. We're not second-class citizens. We pay taxes. We first person to die fighting for this, the rights of this country, this nation in the Revolutionary War was Crispus Attucks, a black man. So we have put into this country just like everyone else. And you should see us the same. So when we see black people getting max time for petty offenses, even if you look at the Corey Wise situation, that victim is still alive to tell her story, sell books, what have you. That doesn't trivialize what she's gone through, but that victim is still alive to see another day. In the situation with Botham Jean, he's dead, done. Now, one thing they got right, Tammy Kemp, that was the judge, they did call a thing. I sound like Ayanna Van Zandt, but they called it what it was.
Say that.
It was murder. And I'm happy that they charged her for murder. But they gave her time as if it was manslaughter.
Yeah.
Right? And that's not right.
Because manslaughter means that
it could have been self-defense, plausible reason to say that it wasn't done that it wasn't with intent or something like that.
Premeditated. And I mean, I guess it could be argued that she didn't premeditate it, but she had enough time to your point, figure out situational awareness and leave. There's a comment on IG.
Kawhi Joy, I hope I said your name correctly. Kawhi Joy. said exactly, so they're agreeing. Also, they see it with a blind eye and deaf ear because when it doesn't directly happen, they don't care, and that's true.
Yeah, but that doesn't affect them. But I want to
and that's too many of Americans. If it's not you,
that's true.
People seem not to care until it comes to your door,
and that's
too late to do
the black
something.
community too.
Yeah, that's very true.
I want to just talk about how in the criminal justice system it starts with not even having proper representation.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna use Corey Wise again because Central Park 5 is like really like if you guys watch the Nitty Gritty show,
we'll call them the exonerated.
Yes, the exonerated 5. I'm passionate about them. It starts from proper representation. She had good defense lawyers in her case. A lot of times, a lot of black and brown people, black, Latino, or impoverished people, they can't even afford a defense attorney to properly represent them, even if they are innocent. So then they get the state, representative or someone doing pro bono work. Generally, they don't care, and they don't even hear he or she's case out to even find out whether or not the black or brown person is innocent. So what they do is they say, you know what? Let's just take a plea deal. Black men are always given plea deals, and then they are threatened with the plea deal by saying, well, if you don't take the plea deal and you get charged, you're going to spend more time in jail, so it's better for you to take the plea deal. That way you'll have less time. But then when you plead to it, that's you admitting that you are actually wrong in that fault, and the reality is that may not be the case. And so you have so many black and brown people who are in jail who are falsely accused.
The McKinneys.
Hey y'all, who are falsely accused, who generally don't have proper representation to present their case correctly to a state. And then you also have the bailiff, the judge, and other people who are in cahoots, because every time you put a black or brown body in the criminal justice system, that is money towards the state, that is money towards the city, that is money, that is a notch up for the prosecutors, a notch up for the judge. Nobody is doing the investigative work to really make justice due. The criminal justice system does not care about black people. It only cares about us putting more black bodies into the prison pipeline, which is a modern day slavery. So that is the reason why the black community is having an outcry for anybody who doesn't understand. It's like for you to actually murder, confess to murder, have beyond a reasonable doubt evidence to show that you were in the wrong place at the wrong time, had no business there, didn't do your due diligence as a cop for situational awareness, and only get 10 years. And we got people in jail still for shooting, what's the lady's name who shot gunfire? She didn't kill nobody, she just, the black lady.
She shot a warning fire. There's a lady that got life. She shot a warning shot at someone who had raped her daughter or something crazy like that. She got life.
Yeah. So this is the reason why we are outcrying as a black community. And I want to encourage us that when it comes to this prison and criminal justice system,
Brent, what's good?
We can't keep having an outcry on social media. We have to actually get involved. This requires us going and becoming lawyers. This requires more black lawyers doing pro bono work. I know you probably are like, I don't want to work for free. I get it, but it's bigger than just working for free. It's about helping other black people who look like you so that we can create a legacy to help stop this criminal justice prison to pipeline. This requires us getting involved and voting on judges, which we can do, voting on the police sheriff, which we can do. It's just a matter of us actually caring. And to Juan's point, literally a few seconds ago, many of us don't care until it's at our doorstep. And when we have these conversations, people look at us like, why, what is it, energy flows, where energy goes? I don't want to focus on the negative energy.
Because they put a lot of energy to their multi-level marketing businesses.
Well,
all right, but let me cut to the audience real quick. We got a lot of comments. Coming off IG, Kawi Joy said I couldn't even watch. She's referring to the When They See Us. Okay. She said she couldn't even watch it. Started crying like 20 minutes into it. Yeah, I think that thing is very emotional. Even for those of us that didn't cry, you felt those tears inside. Lana, she came in, hashtag RP Joshua Brown. Amen, sister, to that. Also, Lana wanted to put out, she said, important topics. Thank you for bringing it forward. For those, especially IG, if you don't know what we're talking about, if you haven't caught on yet, we're talking about this latest conversation or this case of Amber Guyger, the 10 years, the case, Botham Jean. We'll be going into forgiveness later on in the show. But
hey, Leach. You just saw Leach earlier.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, what's up? So, these are, it's a very important conversation. And I think it's a very important conversation, as Katrina has elaborated, for all of America. It's important for all of America to get behind trying to correct the injustice in the justice system, right?
Yeah.
Because it literally affects us all. Rich, what's up, bro? We really need to become allies of one another. This whole idea of Democrat versus Republican, black versus white, liberal versus conservative, we have to get it. We have to get it through our heads as America. Is that when we're divided, we're literally hurting what America could be. When you want to keep certain people out of certain spaces, whether it's technology, teaching, politics, justice, whatever, you're limiting the things that make America great. The Olympics is coming up next year, right? In order for us to get those gold medals we're used to getting, yo, Devastation, what's up, bro? In order for us to get those gold medals we want, we're going to have to see the help of all types of Americans participating in the events.
Right.
You're going to see a lot of black people out there in track and field. You're going to see a lot of white folks swimming, rowing, right? You're going to see a lot of different types of people running those marathons. You're going to see another different class of people doing the gymnastics. And it takes a very diverse America to win those medals. And we have to have the same attitude we're going to have next year going into the Olympics at all times. Because you can't make America great. I will not say again, because it's never been great for everybody. But you can't make America great unless everybody's participating in it. And when you marginalize and when you persecute a certain piece of it, or if you don't value those lives the same way you value other lives, that's why China is kicking our behind right now. There's a reason why the economy is booming in Taiwan. These places are growing because they're trying to take the best pieces of all of what those societies have to bring to the table. When you limit who sits at the table, you limit the greatness of what that country should be. I should run for office because somebody needs to say this again. But like, that's why Barack Obama got elected, because one thing in his message that was resounding since 2004 when he's at the Democratic Convention is that he preached this idea of America coming together to make things happen. And I know you guys are thinking like, where does this come from? But it is so crucial behind this conversation. And I'd like to see what people think about this. Peace, my brother.
Yeah, I just want to just say that, okay, so bringing it back to the case, I'm very interested to understand the thinking behind those who were black on the jury and agreed with the 10-year sentence. I wonder if it was just like a consensus like, oh, you know, she's remorseful, so she should get 10 years, or what.
Tony, what's up, bro?
And the reason why I bring that up is because when I went to the Congressional Black Caucus, Trayvon Martin's lawyer, I cannot remember his name and I should, he said the number one issue that he has with black folks is that we're the first ones to not want to participate in jury duty, and when we are in the jury, we're the quickest ones to just go along with the answer because we just want to go home or go back to work. And you have to understand, if you are a person of color serving on a jury, you have the opportunity to change the trajectory of someone's life. Isn't that crazy? Meaning, if I was on that jury, I could have argued and said, I don't want to give her 10 years, I want to give her more. And me arguing that, even if it took a day, 2 days, 3 days, potentially somebody could have folded and she could have got more
but
time.
Doesn't the judge make the recommendation towards the time? I think you guys, I thought the jury only decides if they're guilty or not. I thought the judge is the one that pretty much has the power to offer more or less years.
I'm not a lawyer, I don't know.
I know the jury decides if you're guilty or not. The judge is going to be
the prosecutor wanted 28 years. It's baffling how it happened. Let us know. I think the jury decided 10. But
Tony, you smart too. Somebody chime in. I'm pretty sure. Let us know, because we want to give it the right information. The judge determines how many years it gets. As far as arguing over time, I believe that's going to be between the defense and the prosecution. So the prosecutions are always going to give a recommendation towards what is going to be. Typically, they're always going to ask for more. Of course, defense is always going to fight for less. The prosecution's asked for 28 years. It's murder. And then looking at, because a lot of times with these cases, they always like to look at a case study of what do we typically give for these kind of allegations. I think the problem is, and I think this is why some black people, and you guys let me know if you think this is what it is. I think a lot of black people from the conversations I've been in, they feel like the 10 years was cool because that's still more than what we've seen others get.
Right, and she still was trying to
because at least she was guilty. Right. It was murder.
I got it.
A lot of black folks feel like this is a step in the right direction.
Right.
You know, at least you're setting some kind of a precedent to go forward. But I feel like if you're going to set the precedent the right way, you should go all the way, and you should have gave her life or max time. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. I want to start diving into the whole hugging situation and patting on the back and all that jazz. So, Botham Jean's brother asked what are we going to call her? The defendant. I'm not going to call her a victim. The defendant for a hug. I believe he did that to relinquish and release maybe the animosity he was feeling. I think it was a sign of forgiveness for him. And a lot of people were like, that was an act of Christianity. Now, here's my opinion. I don't see anything wrong with him giving her a hug, but I personally would have not given her a hug in that moment. Here's why. I would have forgiven her, but at the end of the day, when it comes to being in the court of law, it's about strategy. And when you act in that sign of forgiveness, that lets everybody know, including all of America who's watching, know that you have now relinquished your sign of forgiveness. And now I think when it comes time for her to have an appeal, they may say, oh, she had good behavior. And you know, Botham Jean's brother, he forgave her. So, you know, she's free to go. I'm the kind of person that behind closed doors, I will forgive her. My family will forgive her. But in front of the media, we would have a united front in being disappointed in her actions, and I would not have hugged her in front of the media. Absolutely not, because from a strategy standpoint, I don't want any of my actions to perpetuate or even help aid her in any kind of advantage that she already has in life. Call it what you will. That's just my thought process. I don't know what you guys think. What are your thoughts on him asking her for a hug? And then we'll get to the other hugs in a minute, but specifically Botham Jean's brother asking her for a hug. What were your thoughts on that?
I'd be curious to know what everyone feels about that. Definitely you, D. I know you got thoughts. Brent, I know you got thoughts. Going to our
Facebook
audience in Facebook. Lana, if you want to serve on the jury, go to the City Hall and ask the clerk. Of course, check your local jurisdiction, but that's KC, Kansas City. I've told people to volunteer. Lana, once again. Then Tony, this is why I like smart people watching. He said, unless you plead guilty to a criminal charge, a jury will decide whether you are innocent or guilty. However, the jury does not determine the time. So thank you for chiming in. I knew somebody would have the answer. Tony's an educator, so of course he's going to know the answer to a lot of things. Smart, bro.
So the judge gave for 10 years. I don't know why, but hey.
So, and here's the thing. So dealing with these hugs and stuff, right? Because this is what set me aflame. So
They set you aflame?
Yeah, all right. So here's the thing. Forgiveness, we'll get deeper into forgiveness. Forgiveness is one thing, right? Botham Jean's brother, Brent Jean, asking for the hug. A little weird. I think the timing wasn't good because, once again, we saw how that was used to give her less time.
And
so it wasn't strategic.
The jury.
But I will say this. I try not to harp on people for making choices that I don't think are strategic, but because they may not understand the strategy of what that meant. They could have been in a moment. I don't know where their head was. So I try not to necessarily attack that individual. But the two people I will attack. Tammy Kemp, sis, what was you thinking hugging her?
Well,
now I've seen the video.
Apparently the victim.
I was gonna get there.
Okay.
I know I've seen the video, right? Because a lot of people think that she just voluntarily gave a hug. So somewhat in her defense, she hugged. What she did was she consoled the family.
Yes.
Of the victim, Botham Jean.
Right.
Right. And then in doing that, Amber Guyger gets up, like almost motioning like she wants a hug.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm gonna say some offensive stuff right about now. So, first of all, I think Tammy Kemp should have kept it 100 and been like, Slim, like, I don't be hugging defendants. Like, unless this is something they do all the time in Dallas, where they're hugging defendants all day, sure, give her a hug too. We could be the Care Bears. But Slim, I doubt you hugging brothers and even guilty white men and anybody else, or cracked out white women. You ain't hugging them, but all of a sudden this officer, because, you know, part of it is because the color of the skin of the victim, but also the blue line.
But I heard they was cool.
Well, she might have known it because she was an officer.
Yeah,
they might have ran in the same circles at some point, right?
So I think it was more like a, dang man, like you messed up. I'm gonna give you a hug because
I ain't give you a hug. That ain't the time.
It's kind of like we know people in the same circle at the church or whatever. I don't know you personally, but you know me by name. I know you by name. And if we happen to be in the same workplace and I heard some shady stuff, it's like, man, dang. She's like, you know, bruh. But to Juan's point, understanding, like, we have to be strategic about how we do what we do when we are in the presence of media. We know that the media turns everything around to make it seem like, well, you know, they're forgiving people. The problem that I hate that is a perpetuated mindset of black people. It's like, we can do whatever to black people and they're going to forgive us. That has literally been what people think of us across the world.
But you still don't have that same forgiveness for someone that looks like you. Before I even get all up into that, I just couldn't stand the fact that she hugged her. But then also the bailiff rubbing her back. Alright? It was a whole lot of sympathy going
for her tears.
For these, and let's just be honest.
Oh no.
For a long time.
No, don't do it.
For a long time, we've seen a lot of sympathy for white women tears, right? I've even heard white brothers say this before. You know what I'm saying? And I think we have to get out of this idea of having sympathy based off someone's skin color and gender, right? Because what it is it creates a bias towards what happens if a black man is crying.
Or black
tears.
woman.
There's no sympathy for a black man crying.
No,
there's no sympathy, and let's keep it all the way 100. If you're a white male over a certain amount of years, there ain't no sympathy for a white male crying. They're gonna be like, stop crying.
True.
Now, we'll be honest, these white teenagers that shoot up schools, they get sympathy when they cry. But that's why I said a white man of certain years, if you're an old white man, Kevin Spacey, if he's crying, they don't care about that. They persecuted him straight up. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but it seems like when it comes to a certain group of people in America, if they cry, if they weep, automatically everybody just loses their whole crap. I want to say another word, but they lose all their good knowledge when it comes to these tears. And we got to stop. If you see a Latino woman crying, nobody care about that. They tore them kids away from them when they're at the border. There was no sympathy.
That's true.
That's
a good point.
I'm just saying, like, let's just look at it whole. This is not an attack towards white women. This is just saying, if we're going to have that sympathy towards white women, it should be afforded to a man of color. It should be afforded to an immigrant. It should be afforded to someone who makes a different sexual lifestyle choice. Sympathy is sympathy, and if it can't be applied universally, I don't want to see it in a place like the courtroom where we're supposed to be representing justice.
But you know what's so crazy is that I've had experiences like just from a traffic stop at, down at a courthouse, and most of the people who work there look like me, and they are never nice. They are never nice to me. They're never nice to anybody black and brown. They're not looking out. They treat us like almost like we're animals. But yet, it's still to your point. If you come up in there a different skin color, you straighten up. You act right. Let me help you out. And it's like, I don't understand why we do not treat each other with high regard and reverence and respect. It bothers me greatly. When I look at you as a black man and as a black woman, my first thought is never to tear you down. My first thought is to, how can I help you? What do you need? I may not have the money. Can I pray for you? What resources do you need? What can I connect you with? But every time I go into a city hall or some kind of court, I actually feel anxiety. Am I the only one? I feel anxiety because they're like, sit down. And they were talking to us like we're animals. It's not even in any kind of respect or regard. Am I the only one?
It's this authoritative tone that you have, and then that is a form. And once again, for our white listeners, this is not an attack towards you. This is to inform you, so that way you can understand if your coworker or maybe an extended family member somehow feels a way about a subject. You realize they're not tripping. There is a paradigm that they live in that maybe you don't understand. But even if you don't understand it, listen to what we're saying now, so that way you can help change the narrative going forward. Going to IG, my homeboy D, he said, regardless of the circumstances surrounding the forgiveness and compassion, it was unprofessional, bottom line.
Wow.
And I agree.
I like that.
And I don't think anybody's worded it better than that.
Say it again. Can we read it one more time?
Let me read that one more time. This is coming from IG, from D,
I totally
Devastation, or if you find them on IG, it's The Legend 805. Regardless of any of the circumstances surrounding the forgiveness and compassion, it was unprofessional, bottom line.
True.
Going to Facebook, Chris said, we fall for the okie doke all the time. You facts, brother, facts. Lana said, you're not the only one. So, there's something to say that something's very amiss here. And then what makes the situation worse, before we get into this conversation of forgiveness, this dealing with the case, final point, tragic thing happens. We see Joshua Brown, who testified during the case, a key witness.
Yeah. Because he heard it.
Exactly. Heard the whole thing. A key witness behind why she got murdered, why the jury felt convicted as to why she was guilty. He's found now dead. Now, at first they were trying to say, oh, it was a possible suicide, but
No,
they're already saying like it was
he
death.
got shot in his head.
The other thing that confused me is, okay, so also now this man gets shot dead. Now, he don't seem like he was no thug either, because keep in mind, when he was at the court case, he's wearing a lime green Dragon Ball Z shirt. Ain't no thugs in the streets wearing no lime green Dragon Ball Z shirt.
And he even said he was very nervous.
All right, so it ticks me off. All right, second thing, we also see that Tammy Kemp has just been endorsed by the Dallas police for her re-election of judge. So the prosecution is saying give her 28 years. The jury already says she's guilty. The evidence is pointing, everything leads to guilty. And you decide, not only did you chop it more than half,
I'm gonna give her manslaughter.
you literally gave her like a third of the time suggested by the prosecution, and you give her 10 years. Also, for those that don't know, all she has to do, because it's a felony in the state of Texas, she's only mandatory to serve 50% of that time. Meaning Slim more than likely going to get out in 5 years.
Yep.
Now she's got that murder thing on her record, so she's going to feel the sting of what a lot of people persecuted her has felt, but justly so, because she committed the crime and she's even owning up to it. I think the thing that bothers me so much about the deaths of Botham Jean and also the deaths of Joshua Brown, and this is the part that upsets me, like infuriates me, is one man is in his own home eating ice cream. It's bad enough you don't feel safe in a car. You can't feel safe carrying Arizona iced tea in a Skittle, walking through a white neighborhood. You can't feel safe if the cops bring you in if you're cuffed, because you still may end up hung up somewhere like Sandra Bland. You can't play with a toy gun. You can't be in Walmart. You can't defend yourself.
You can't breathe.
But you can't be in your own home. You can't go to court and do your civic duty, right, to testify. We call people snitches and all that all the time, and here this guy does the thing that's supposed to be right. White people always saying, not all white, but we know there's a good amount of you out there saying, well, if you guys just didn't do this, maybe if you kind of work with the law, you wouldn't have the problem. This man worked with the law. He did his part, and he ends up dead shot. And y'all say there's no connection, but that's bullcrap if you don't see a connection. And then
was he even being protected? Was he on
probably wasn't like one kind of wit set, but I mean, and then to be in your own home eating ice cream, it's like, where are you safe? Because people love to say, well, if you wasn't at the club late at night.
But that's 2 murders in the same building.
2 murders in the same building? In the same building?
But that just shows you that they don't value black lives. And what really bothers me is that Black people in America have done so much for this country. When you think about the countless inventions that we have created, when you think about Washington D.C., they don't want to credit it to
we built this city.
Was it Booker? No, who built the city?
Oh, you're talking about the watchmaker. He'll come to my
Benjamin
Banneker. There you go.
When you talk about culture, rhythm and blues, jazz, I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. It's like we consistently are resilient. We consistently are innovative. We are consistently creative. And at every single turn, every single opportunity, we are left with opposition. And the point that makes me frustrated is that we have so much infighting as well. Like, we're talking about Chicago and Dallas, and it's like, we have got to wake up, people. It's already bad enough that other people are killing us freely and getting away with it, but then we're like killing one another. And I get it, because of systematic racism. Well, we have got to start working together. We have got to start getting involved. We preach this time and time again on the Nitty Gritty Show, and it is very much so exhausting, because it's like, it's the same people engaging, it's the same people getting in, and it's just not enough. Like, we've got to be really engaged. I don't even know what to say about Joshua.
So I mean, let's go to our audience again, right? So Chris McKinney, shout out Casey. We've both had the cold shoulder more from people who look like us, more than the more we've gotten involved, right?
Wow.
Interesting. Lana McKinney, shout out Casey. I think it's because it's a position of power. Blacks can demean each other without repercussion.
Yeah.
Chris came back in. This is also our Facebook audience. This is our country as much as anyone else. Thank you, brother. Going to IG, Devastation. He said he was clearly murdered. He and his family seem to have a culture of acquiescence. And that's something important. So let's talk about forgiveness, all right?
Okay, here we go.
So, obviously, you guys see my frustration. Now, me personally, right? If this is shout out to my family, Altars, DeCostas, Thompsons, you know, wherever you are, you know what I'm saying? If I die, I don't want y'all to be like them two brothers down in Florida that hopped over and was ready to whoop somebody, all right? They killed me. I want to feel vindicated in my grave, all right? And I'm going to smile down from heaven that y'all whooped somebody behind on my behalf. Now with that said, I don't blame the Botham family for forgiving, right? But, you know, this is not the first time that we've seen forgiveness in these crazy situations.
Right.
We've seen Nipsey Hussle's mother forgive the shooter of her son. If you guys remember the Emmanuel 9 in Charleston, they did a whole thing where, you know, they all, the various members from the families said, you know, we forgive Dylan Roof. So we see this forgiveness thing happen. And you know what? I have no ill will or nothing negative to say about that. And the reason why is, when you're dealing with the grief of a loved one being gone,
Unexpectedly.
you know, you have to deal with that in your terms and what helps you. You get what I'm saying? So maybe, you know, however you get through it, you may have to forgive. And if they can do that, you know, big up to them. God bless them. If they had to reach into their faith to do that, I have no problem with it. But this idea that, you know, that some Christians are saying that you have to forgive and you have to do it in this time.
Or repent.
Just the same way I can't overly criticize someone for forgiving, you can't criticize someone for not forgiving. You can't criticize someone for being upset or being for mad. The same Bible that you look to, the same God that you serve was the same one that told Saul to kill all of Amalek. Don't even leave the goats behind.
I mean, God.
All right?
God has shown vengeance is mine. Didn't God do Solomon and Gomorrah? Didn't God give Ramses more than one chance and then wipe them all out? I mean,
I'm just saying, like,
the God that we read about, that I know about, ain't no weak God.
He wiped out whole cities in a heartbeat.
I mean,
so this idea that, you know, it always has to be the doctrine of turn the other cheek.
Nah,
there might be a time. There's probably a time for that, but then there's also a time to raise arms and handle your business. And this idea that, you know, people have to forgive is wild to me. I think forgiveness works at different levels and at different maturity levels.
But just because you forgive somebody does not mean you have to state that you forgive them.
And you don't have to give them no hug. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. This is not to criticize the family of the Botham family. You know, because I don't know how much they know. Like, I think D made a good point. They did seem like the kind of family that would acquiesce or try their best to fit in with that culture. Keep in mind, this is Texas. I think you gotta think in the north, and me being someone who's lived in these areas, one thing I have seen more so in red states or like in the South is that people there try to, you know,
we don't want to make no
fit
trouble.
in, and you know, kind of like you know, they code switch more so in those areas to fit in with white culture. I know living in the South, this is not even acceptable in corporate America. Up here, they don't care, but down South, that hairstyle, this beard, they would tell me I need to be clean shaven, and then they would want her to straighten her hair out, and she was in the South. It's a different kind of atmosphere. So I feel like black people feel like just to fit in and survive, they have to somewhat appeal to white culture. Whereas, you know, here, you can kind of stand up a little bit more. The New Yorks, the DCs of the world, the LAs, it's like, no, you got to accept me for who I am. I don't have to change so you can like me. All right? You got to take me.
Well, the things that they not liking, the things they ain't liking, it's just, I mean, how you going to change how your hair grow natural? So,
but then what happens is that bleeds into other areas. You start talking about how people talk, how people forgive, the folks that they feel like they have to warm up to. As well, going to the audience again, Lana said, forgiveness is a personal, not a public. God does it privately. Ain't no hugging over here. I feel you. The mom didn't publicly do it. That's right. The mom did forgive privately. Going to IG, Devastation. He said, we, talking about blacks, forgive way too easily. I mean, George Zimmerman is still walking the planet. Talk about it. Also, he said, we will hurt each other over the slightest disrespect, but we know our place.
But I do.
And he put that in caps, but we know our place. And that's sad. And you just talked about that. It's like, and I was talking to some fellas of mine just recently, and we said that it's like, I mean, I've seen it back in college where you step on somebody's Air Forces, you was catching a fade to the face. You get what I'm saying? But I'll see that same thug hold the door open for a white woman. And there's nothing wrong with holding that door open for the white woman, but you could do it for someone that don't look like you. You mean you can't have that same respect or better for the person, you know what I'm saying, that shares your same plight in society? I just don't understand that.
I do want to say that in this culture of social media, what I appreciate is that because we have cameras and we have a little more knowledge about racism and systematic racism, we do have a lot of white allies, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've heard some of
There's a lot of them out there.
Yeah, I've heard Tim Wise who's come on the show.
Robert Lee.
I have a few colleagues at work who they understand and they agree and they really speak out about it. So I want to acknowledge them on this platform that we have a lot of white allies and we are grateful. The reality is,
there's a whole bunch of y'all that ain't allies. Y'all sit on the sidelines and watch stuff happen.
Well, that's not what that is a true
I know
point.
You wasn't going there. I just wanted to put that out there.
What I wanted to say is that the point is, even if you are an ally or even if you are understanding of systematic racism, the criminal justice system, what I think really helps is that when you were at dinner tables during Thanksgiving and Christmas, when you are at home and you hear and you see bias, you hear and you see racism, that is the time to correct your family members, to correct your friends. I think what happens is most times people, they know it's wrong, but they're just quiet because it's like, well, I don't want to cause drama. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, you don't want to ruffle feathers because if you are benefiting from some kind of privilege, you know, be it the golf course or the country club, you know, I don't want to correct Bob because, you know, I want access into here. We have to stop doing that. And that goes for black folks as well. If I see somebody going through who looks like me, I can't have the mindset that, oh, that's their job. Let me not, you know, help them out. I have to be, you know, helping them out. If it's wrong, it's wrong. And God will provide. I'm not saying you just do any old thing, but what I am saying is that as a country, we have to start standing up for what is right. Dr. King stood up for what was right. If it was not for him, we wouldn't even have voting rights.
And while we're talking about forgiveness, right? We've seen Erica Campbell. She's been doing her media tour because she has a book out. I think she has some music
More Than Pretty
coming out. Yeah. So you know, she's been doing her press tour, right? And she's been talking about this issue of forgiveness. She talked about her forgiving her husband because he had cheated on her, or I guess he wasn't faithful. And I guess basically the story went from, correct me if I'm wrong, the husband had cheated years ago since the incident had passed, but I guess he was still feeling a way about it. Went to the wife, told her, hey, look, you know, once upon a time, I wasn't faithful, you know, blah, 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 blah. And I guess initially she was like, you know what, I'm out of here. But then she thought about it. It's like she thought about all the years she put in. She said, you know what, this is a good man. I'm going to stay with him, whatever, right? Even with that was a choice she made. But to say that everybody has to forgive someone during infidelity, that's not like a blanket statement. Once again, you know, we're talking about forgiveness, not just in this situation, but in all. And there's this idea now that came out that, you know, you forgive somebody for everything. And even then, sometimes you can't forgive. And sometimes you may forgive the person, but it doesn't mean you have to keep on, you don't have to continue on with the relationship. You know, the relationship may be defiled. Now, if they stay together and obviously it seems like the relationship is blessed, that's great for them. But it doesn't become the precept as to how everyone should. This idea of trying to force your ideal of forgiveness in everyone, I think we need to get away from that and allow people to be human. You know, maybe if it's a close friend, you may advise as to how you would forgive. But this idea that you have to force this idea of what forgiveness is, kind of crazy.
I think it's weird that people associate forgiveness with this like week of, oh, I'm back to being.
It takes a lot of strength to forgive.
Yeah, I'm back to being normal. I'm okay. You know, I don't have anything with you. That's not what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is basically relinquishing it over to God to tell the person, I am no longer holding on to this burden against you. That doesn't mean that we are friends. That doesn't mean I need to talk to you. Doesn't mean I need closure. Doesn't mean that I'm weak or I'm mal. It just simply means I have relinquished whatever emotional trauma I have over so that I don't have to have it anymore. With that being said, I think...
I'm about to say, psychologists say the same thing. So let's say even that, because I know there's a group of people out there, not all of you guys are Christian, right? Okay, cool. Let me talk to you guys. Psychologists have even suggested to victims of trauma, some type of abuse or anything, even they would recommend to their patients that in releasing it, maybe you should write a letter to the person who abused you or did you wrong, so you can clear yourself of the energy of still hating that individual. So forgiveness from a strength standpoint, it's not because you're weak, it's not because you're given okay to what was done to you, right? It doesn't say it was all right that you molested me, or it was all right that you abused me, it's all right that you did me wrong, whatever the situation is. But it's saying, okay, you know what, I'm forgiving you because I have to move on, and this is part of my therapy, this is part of my strategic process. So even though I'm not saying we should push forgiveness on people, but at the same time recognize how forgiveness can be powerful in helping that person move on. And even if you don't believe it from a Christian standpoint, science still supports what the Word of God is saying in that regard. And
what's the comment there? I was going to see with that. Did we read that one?
Yeah. So I'll check it out. So IG, this is from Devastation. He says our white allies really need to use their platforms, not just piggyback on our platforms for reform. I am appreciative of white sympathy, but we need more. And I agree with that. When you and basically what Ndee is saying, for those that are not catching that, although I thought it was pretty simple wording, is it's one thing to say, thoughts and prayers because you're running for an office. It's one thing, we're seeing it with the elections. Everybody's saying, yeah, I feel like black people should get reparations. We've seen Donald Trump recently. He made comments saying, black people, you guys don't get enough credit for the work you've done in this country. All right,
Not any credit.
Cool. Well, don't create tax laws that hurt not only black people in the middle class, but also the white folks that voted for you in the first place.
All people in the middle class.
Yeah, because all middle class and lower class people are hurting. People are working 2 or 3 jobs to make ways. And it's kind of like, we don't need more rhetoric. If you're going to really use your platform to change things, there are laws. Don't do more to help fund privatized prisons, because that's what Donald Trump.
The number one law that bothers me greatly, everybody knows this.
13th Amendment.
Yes, that's the number one law.
Oh,
so
okay.
the number 2 law that bothers me greatly is that we got all these little weed dispensaries popping up left and right. Until every black and brown person that has gone to jail for smoking weed, people have gone to jail just for smoking it, not even selling it, just smoking it because they were stressed.
And got more than 10 years.
Until every black and brown person who's in jail for weed is on the streets, safe and sound, and their record has been erased, I don't want to see another weed dispensary. Yet and still, every time I look at a weed dispensary, it ain't nobody black popping up with it. And I think that's just crazy to me. And that is the reason why people think we complain about everything, but it's just America is just so it creates so many barriers, and we are so stressed as a people day to day, which is why we should not create other stressors against one another when we are already just stressed, just existing. So I wanted to say, go ahead.
Oh, I was about to say, and I was thinking about this whole idea of forgiveness. So we watched the movie Joker the other day. I'm not going to give it away. No spoilers here. No spoiler alert. But Joaquin's Phoenix display of the Joker and the storyline they used.
It was good.
When you look at the idea of what bullying can do to people, right? When we look at this idea of people that go through trauma at an early age, I think we just need to be, I mean, if there's any moral to this conversation we're having, Americans, period, need to be better to each other,
yes.
Right? Especially when I'm talking to my people, my black people, we really need to be good to each other, because it's like the different things that we're going through specifically that's unique to our American experience. But looking at the greater picture, looking at all Americans, we have to be better to each other. We're creating a lot of these situations where these people go and do some crazy stuff because somebody was invalidated or comforted the right way, and it's only getting worse with social media. A lot of times people use social media as a platform to hurt or to push this idea of attacks towards people, and we need to get away from that. Yo, what's up, CBZ, Brian? We need to get away from this idea of hurting one another or attacking one another, because we're creating these problems, and they're unique. And I know a movie might be an exaggerated tale of it, even though technically it's not.
No, I think
it was a very accurate tale of what happens in real life.
With mental health, I definitely think so. I just wanted to just put something out here, and we can table this into the next time. But my concern with, is his name Joshua, the neighbor?
Joshua Brown. My
concern with his death is that it's going to cause people to be fearful, to not want to testify.
And that's not good.
It's not. And the thing is, though, about our generation is that when you think back to the 60s, during that time period, people were getting lynched and killed. And they knew there was a possibility that they were going to die. Dr. King knew before he was going to die that he was going to die. Yet and still they figure, I have to do this to advance the culture for future generations. And so what I want to leave with today is what I want to encourage is, are we strong enough today as people or as individuals to fight for justice for somebody else, even if it's not at our doorstep?
I mean, and that's powerful. Going to our comments, Brian, yeah, what's up? Yes, sir, man. Then we got Chris McKinney. Yeah, suicide's on the rise. That's a fact. Also going to our IG audience, going back to devastation. Racism is so systematic. The marijuana, the dispensary acquisitions are intentionally made harder for blacks. And that's true. We've seen this even here in Maryland, that people of color are having a harder time getting approved for dispensaries. And we see this across the nation. And if we're going to allow people to tap into this new income or this new form of making money, we got to broaden it out. I'll say in a quick note, just before we leave out, let's just try to be better to each other. Feel free to still comment on here. Give us your thoughts as we move into the election year. Lana said that's powerful, Katniss. Those were very powerful words.
Thank you.
And I know we're about to run out of time.
We are. I just want to just say, because even in myself, am I willing to put my life on the line for somebody else? And if I'm being transparent, the answer is I don't know. I know I'm here, but when you know that you potentially can die from testifying or die for speaking out about what's right, or lose your job or lose whatever, it's stressful. So the question is, are we willing to do that? And if we do it, how many of us are going to pick our brother and sister up by the arms to say, I'll give you shelter, I'll employ you, I'll give you money, I'll protect you, because you are risking your livelihood? And the answer is, I don't know if we're willing to do that for one another, which is probably why many of us should stay quiet.
Well, I don't think we should stay quiet. We'll have to go out and be daring and be bold, you know. But it's gonna take a lot of courage to go do what we have to do. Look,
I know. We gotta go. Dang.
Before we go, I know, like, a great conversation, so we'll have to pick this up. We're actually gonna start the nitty gritty. We're gonna start giving you guys some more content. We got little small segments and videos we're gonna start posting throughout the week.
It's gonna be called Nitty Gritty. What is it called? Nitty Gritty.
Well, we got the nitty. Oh, I wasn't gonna announce it today, but okay. So we're gonna announce it. We have the Nitty Gritty Extended Family. There's a lot of key people you see constantly on this show. So they're going to be, labeled the Nitty Gritty Extended Family. So we're going to get small videos from them.
And some of our followers, we would love for you guys to be a part. You know who you are.
You know who you are.
You know who you are.
All right. Y'all need to be part of this extended family. So definitely, Chris said before he leaves
out. We got to remember it was done before. And that's the thing, Chris. I just don't know if we have the same strength.
Chris is.
He said, so it can be done.
Yeah, okay. And then D said it would, if we stand together, more of us would stand up. And that's a fact. If you feel like you're going to be supported when standing, it would help. And I mean, that's a conversation in itself. Look, we just want to remind everybody, look, we're always here Sundays at 8 p.m. Get in on the conversation. Feel free to share the feed to your friends. Yep. Tell people about us. How you keep platforms like this going is, of course, by increasing the viewership. And then also, by
Lana,
exactly, Lana, we're adding you. So we need the viewership. This is how things like this keep going. We want to make sure when things like this gets attention, even if they don't try to employ us with one of the larger groups or radio stations, but it does say, okay, you know what, platforms like this is needed. People are interested in this, and they'll make more of this, even if it's not through us. They'll make more stuff like what we're presenting to you guys every Sunday at 8 p.m.
And if there is a particular topic that we have not done, please
hit us up.
Send it to us in a message. We'll do it.
You can hit us up at Katniss@thenittyGrittyShow.com. You can hit me up at j.decosta. I'm sorry, it's j.decosta@thenittyGrittyShow.com. So you can shoot us to the email. Of course, you can find us at The Nitty Gritty Show on IG.
Yeah, or Facebook is 2017.
Yeah, The Nitty Gritty Show 2017 on Facebook. You can find us at The Nitty Gritty Show on IG. We're Nitty Show on Twitter, and then also you can find us on YouTube at The Nitty Gritty Show. So please, follow the content, share it, comment. We appreciate all that. Before we roll out, I was listening to some Clipse the other day, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna play a little Clipse track real quick.
Okay.
This is some of you guys may remember the song "Ma, I Don't Love Her" by the Clipse. I'm definitely playing Clipse right now because for those that don't know, Kanye has managed, I don't know if it's gonna be on a new album or not, that we're still waiting on, but he has managed to bring the Clipse back together.
Okay.
And I guess they're doing like a gospel track, so I was feeling nostalgic. So it's the Clipse. It's your boy Jay DaCosta.
It's your girl Katniss.
Together we are the nitty gritty. Oh man.
Can't stop chicks from saying
This was the era.
Yeah, this is the Lord Willin album. This was back in 2002. This is when I was graduating high school. If I could date myself a little bit.
Alright, bye guys.
Look, we out of here. YouTube, we out. IG, we out. Peace. Thanks, D, for joining.